everyone. Amelia and we're here. Been a while since we talked face to face, huh? I don't know if you can tell by the shirt, which is actually Universal Japan. Found it while thrifting. Great find. Anyway, based on the shirt, we can probably tell that we're talking about Epic Universe today. Today the more in-depth video of Super Nintendo World and the Donkey Kong Land came out, and I just really wanted to talk about it because I think it really sets the bar for the rest of the theme park. Specifically when they were talking about the Runaway Minecart ride, they specifically mentioned no screens. I think that was kind of a hint at the rest of the park that they're probably going to be focusing on more practical effects with this park, which means they've been listening to us. Because, as you know, Universal fans have been over the simulator rides for years, basically since they happened, like they started being a mainstream. So I think this is going to be a really good turning point for Universal. And I think that's why they kind of just dropped the no screens in there, because they didn't have to. So that was very much on purpose. But I'm just really excited that we're getting something so special, you know? Because back in the day, Universal was a flop at first, because they were trying to compete with MGM Studios, Hollywood Studios today. And they just kind of dropped the bar, and I think they've been trying to make up for it since. And within recent years, Universal has been kind of fluctuating, but steadily has become the more favorite theme park in Orlando, just based on how they handled everything during the pandemic. I think I love Disney. If you follow me, you know that. But the changes Disney made has not appealed to the audiences. Universal, on the other hand, kind of handled the pandemic and everything more favorably for the people. So I think Epic Universe is kind of like that nail in the coffin. And with all these immersive lands and kind of pulling off of Disneyland Paris and Tokyo Disney as well, having a hotel that's at the park. Because there's going to be this grand hotel that you're going to be able to walk straight into the park. Obviously, it's going to be really expensive, but the fact that they pulled on this very popular concept from the international Disney parks to bring it here to the US, I think is really gonna make a lot of people favor Universal more until at least D23 this year. Like, if Disney does not announce something spectacular, then I think it's kind of going to be obvious where people are going to go if they decide to have a choice. Like, if they can't choose between Universal or Disney, they're going to choose Universal because there's this brand new theme park. Disney hasn't had a new theme park since the 90s. Universal had their water park in, 2000 and... it was like 2010s, like 2013. Or was it later? I don't know. Either way, that's still pretty recent, but now it's kind of old news because it's a smaller park and it's a water park. Most people don't really go to water parks on their vacation because they'll go to the hotel pool. So there's that. Also, yes, I have a shirt on underneath this because this is a spur of the moment video. But yeah, so I really think that Epic Universe is going to be a very, very, very game changer. I was trying to find a better way to say that, but just game changer when it comes to theme parks in the US. It's going to raise the bar, and not everyone's going to be happy about it. There's probably going to be a lot of hate. with Epic Universe, which I'm going to kind of get into now. I'm going to just kind of get into my thoughts and what I think about each land that we know about so far, like, because we've only had these in-depth looks at the lands for really just the Super Nintendo world. They gave us kind of a sneak peek at everything else last month, but nothing this detailed. So, it looks like the Harry Potter land is going to be an indoor. Because when you look at the concept art for it, it's basically just a big building. So it looks like the entire land is going to be indoors, which is also something brought from overseas. One of the, I think it's India, one of their theme parks is entirely indoors, and people love it. So I kind of think that that's going to be a really controversial thing, because some people would be like, oh, I want to be outside when I'm paying all this money. I want to have the sun. But at the same time, it's Florida. It's going to be 90 degrees when this park opens. So having a dedicated indoor land and space is going to be so good. Especially if they are kind of smart about it, and that's where they have a lot of their, like, care centers, like for kids and stuff. Because it looks like this park is going to be a good mixture for people, which is really exciting. So, and I know there's going to be like a show it's going to be a Ministry of Magic rides show type thing. We don't know much about that yet, so who knows what that's going to be about. But it looks like that land is going to be all indoors, so I think that's going to be really good, but really controversial. Going around the park, How to Train Your Dragon, Berk, looks like it's probably going to be the second largest land, because I think they're really focusing on that Super Nintendo Donkey Kong kind of thing, which is smart because of all the hype. But I think this land is going to be more geared for the kids. I think there's only going to be one high intensity coaster, and then the rest seem to be like junior coasters or other kind of rides. So, which is kind of cool, because How to Train Your Dragon was technically a children's book series and then children's movies. So I think having that kind of be the dedicated land is going to be kind of good, because you can also just kind of have the kids just be like tucked away, I guess. I'm really excited about that land just because my family loves How to Train Your Dragon, dragons, Viking history, all that kind of stuff. So I'm really excited to see that in-depth video, because we're going to get a really good look at everything. Because there's honestly two ways it could go. It could be really, really, really dynamic, or it could kind of fall flat. Because Berk is all these cliffs and everything, like it's a cliffside community. So I don't know how they're going to portray that. And I know the warp tunnels and stuff are kind of how you get immersed, which is something else I'm really interested in, is what the interiors of all of these tunnels are going to be. Because we know the Nintendo World one is the green pipe. That's obvious. That's probably why they decided to make all the gates tunnels, just so it was more cohesive and that everyone liked it when it opened here in the States and over in Japan. So I'm kind of interested to see, because the Celestial Land one, which is what I'll be talking about next, that one seems to just kind of be like a bunch of lights, which is really cool, but I don't know how that's going to translate during the day and stuff. I'm really curious to see. Even the renderings of it, I'm really curious to see. But that land is going to be really interesting, I think, the Celestial Land. Because you just never, it's unique. It's original property. It's not based on anything. It's just space, which is so cool, but it can also really fall flat. Whoa, a Star Coaster. Yeah, it's a Star Coaster, but if it's not great, then this whole land is going to be pretty defunct, because this coaster is the main attraction for the land. So if it's not good, basically, like if people don't like it, then this land is going to be empty, I think. So I really hope they focus on that ride. Because if they don't, the rest of the lands are going to be really busy too, because no one's going to be going into this land, which is something else I really hope they're doing, is big capacity rides and shows. This park is going to be so busy all the time, which is kind of good for the other two parks if that's what you're into, but it also can cause a lot of aggravation because the highway times. We've seen that at Disney recently. I mean, it's been so busy every so often, people get angry, they start fights. And while you don't hear about it at Universal, Universal is a lot more lax about that kind of stuff, and the media is more lax about Universal. But it still happens. So I really hope they have a lot of people sucker, like crowd sucker attractions and rides, because otherwise the image is going to be tainted. So I hope they kept that in mind, which I think they did, because I know there's the How to Train Your Dragon show from Universal Studios. I think Japan also. Is there one in Hong Kong? I don't think so. Anyway, so there's that show that they're bringing over, which is very exciting. That's what people have been wanting for years, because it has a giant toothless kind of puppet thing. Really cool. But yeah, I hope they have a lot of bigger crowd attractor type things to help steer clear of that overextended queues and all of that. What is next in the lands? Because it's 5 lands. So I guess it is Super Nintendo World. So we already talked about that, but I think it's going to be really interesting to see if they decide to one-up, no pun intended, the other parks. Because there's an opportunity here. They could either perfectly replicate it or build on it. Which they're doing kind of with the Donkey Kong land, but they're doing that over in Japan. So it's kind of this, like, almost like a catch-22. Because, like, yes, they're doing something really, really innovative, but it's also not unique. And I could be wrong. Japan could not be doing the Donkey Kong ride either. I'm not sure. I've been kind of in and out of hearing news about it. But there's just a lot of opportunity with this park. And it could really, really change how theme parks are. And I think it's going to cause a lot of theme parks to reevaluate, and if they don't change, they're not going to be doing well. Busch Gardens is a big example. I grew up going to Busch Gardens, but the way they've operated basically since 2020 is not good. It's barely enjoyable. Their app does not work. Their website, not really well navigated. Their rides they're not taking care of their rides. Last time I went, I was in so much pain after I rode Montu, which is a ride that's never given me issues before. I'm almost 21. A ride should not be debilitating me for the rest of the day. And it did. I mean, it was rough. But here they are building new rides instead of focusing on their star attractions, which is something I've noticed Universal is actually doing while they're building Epic Universe, is paying attention to their other attractions. What was I talking about? I had to go talk to family real quick. Anyway. But yeah, as Universal has been upgrading and everything in their other parks behind us, mainly Universal Studios, I've noticed, but honestly Islands of Adventure doesn't really need that much right now. Universal Studios really does. So I'm really glad that they're paying attention to their other parks while building this massive park, because that should be the standard across the board. Is, yeah, you're building these new projects, but you need to keep your current ones up to that good standard. Otherwise, people are not going to want to come and see your new attraction, because people will think, oh, they're cutting corners. Oh, it took them so long, which Universal, they build their stuff so quickly. And it's so quickly that I get concerned. When Velocicoaster opened, I was so nervous because they built that ride so fast that I was like, people are gonna fall off and die. The track's gonna fall apart. It didn't. It's still going strong. That ride is great. I haven't been on it yet. It's on my list. I'm hoping to go to Universal shortly after Epic Universe opens, honestly. So I really think Universal is on top right now because they're paying attention. They're listening, which is something Disney's not doing. Hate to say it. I love Disney. Y'all know this. But they have not been listening for years. They take so long to build anything, which people complain about Tron taking so long, which I understand because it is a carbon copy of another ride. But COVID really screwed up a lot of things, which again, I'm not giving Disney the fault. Like, yeah, they could have done something. They could have made it faster. They didn't. That's a whole other video. But I think the standard is going to be very high after this park opens, and if these parks do not catch up, they're going to close. Especially Busch Gardens. I wouldn't say Six Flags, because Six Flags is one of those parks that kind of just is there, you know? But they need to catch up. Even Busch Gardens, or not Busch Gardens, SeaWorld, which is under the same company as Busch Gardens, they're sisters. Even they're doing better than Busch Gardens. It's so disheartening. Anyway, tangent about all that over. Our last land that I'm going to be talking about is the Universal Monsters Land, which was such a curveball for me. I did not expect this land at all. I was honestly expecting... I genuinely don't know what I was expecting, but not that, you know? But I'm excited because a lot of people... Excuse me, I have the hiccups. Okay. Universal Monsters is loved by everyone every year for Halloween Horror Nights, which I will be talking about in a second. Don't worry. But just... Universal Monsters is just such a loved thing, and the fact they're dedicating a land to it is amazing. And it's also a diss at Disney because people have been begging for a Villains Park for years. So I think it's really exciting. And people are wondering if this park is going to have Halloween Horror Nights, and I don't think it will. I think it will have specially ticketed events otherwise, but not Halloween Horror Nights. I think they're going to keep that at studios to keep it kind of relevant, you know? So, I think that's how that's going to play out. But other than that, I'm really excited. Let me know what you think about Epic Universe and if you're going to be going down in the comments below. And I will talk to you all soon. Have a great day. Have a great night. And bye.